They told you the door was locked, but they never mentioned the key was always inside you. What if everything you thought you knew about reality, consciousness, God, was only the first layer, and behind it, hidden in plain sight, was a secret so powerful it's been protected for centuries by the highest orders of secrecy, encrypted in symbols, rituals, and silence? What if that secret wasn't just philosophical, but biological? What if you had, right now within your own body, a built-in portal to higher realms, and they've kept you distracted just enough to keep it dormant? This is not a metaphor. This is the truth that lives inside the ancient knowledge of the 33rd degree of Freemasonry. Not the stories they tell the public, but the teachings whispered at the highest levels of initiation, the ones that revolve around a mysterious doorway within you, a gateway called the pineal gland, the third eye. And once you activate it, nothing about this world will look the same again. Imagine standing in front of a door, not a door made of wood or steel, but a door of perception, one that separates the seen from the unseen. Most never find this door. Others stand before it their entire lives with unlocking it. But those who do, those who pass through, report visions of the divine, sudden knowledge that defies logic, encounters with other realms, and a radiant silence that reorders everything they once believed. And the 33rd degree is the instruction manual for that doorway. It's not about power over others. It's not about global control or dark conspiracies. That's the distraction. The real secret is much quieter, much deeper, and much closer to home. The pineal gland is not fiction, it is real. A tiny pine cone-shaped organ nestled between the hemispheres of your brain, surrounded by ancient symbolism, both sacred and suppressed. The Vatican's great courtyard holds a giant pine cone statue. Egyptian gods are depicted holding staffs topped with pineal spirals. Hindu art paints it as the seat of awakening. And in the teachings of the 33rd degree, this gland is not just an organ, it's a portal. And what activates it is known as the sacred fluid. Science calls it DMT, dimethyltryptamine, but the ancients knew it by feeling, not by formula. They understood that within the human body lives a molecular bridge between dimensions, a naturally occurring substance capable of unlocking access to realms beyond the five senses. This is not fantasy. It is measured, observed, studied. Dr. Rick Strassman's groundbreaking research with DMT, later called the spirit molecule, revealed something extraordinary, that within minutes of DMT activation, people reported crossing into other worlds, speaking with entities of light, and returning with knowledge they couldn't explain, but somehow always remembered. So why would Freemasonry, the Rosicrucians, the Hermeticists, and the ancient mystery schools all protect this knowledge? Why would they embed it in symbols, rituals, sacred geometry, and numerical codes, unless it pointed to something profound? And why, of all numbers, would they focus so intently on the number 33? Because 33 is not just a number, it is a symbol, a vibration, a coordinate in consciousness. In numerology, 33 is called the master teacher. In Kabbalah, it reflects the unification of the divine triad with earthly duality. In Christianity, Jesus was crucified at 33. In geometry, 33 is the number of vertices in a sacred tetrahedron, the building block of the physical world. In biology, your spine, the serpent's path, contains 33 vertebrae. And in Masonry, the 33rd degree is not merely an honor, it is a code, a transmission, an invitation to move beyond the exoteric teachings and into the esoteric core. The understanding that divinity was never out there. It was always within you. And here's the part they never taught you in school. The 33rd degree is not about external rank. It is about internal realization. It is the stage where the initiate learns that true light cannot be given. It must be remembered. that the real temple is not made of stone, but of breath, awareness, and vibration. And to reach that state, one must activate the pineal gland through sacred practice, deep meditation, sun-gazing, fasting, breathwork, and most of all, intention. This is not theoretical, it is felt, it is lived. And those who have touched this sacred current report a transformation so profound that their very perception of time, space, and self collapses into something infinitely larger. A unity, a frequency, a vibration of such clarity that it pierces the illusion of separateness and reveals what the mystics have always known, that all is one, and you are part of that one. But to get there, you must go through the gate, the inner gate, the one guarded by your own mind, the one distracted by noise, dulled by fear, clouded by belief, and that's why you've been told this is nonsense. That's why the pineal gland has been ridiculed as pseudoscience. That's why DMT remains one of the most illegal substances on the planet, despite being naturally produced by your own body. Because if everyone realized they could experience God without a priest, truth without a book, power without permission, the entire system would collapse. That's the secret of the 33rd degree. Not domination, not elitism, but divine sovereignty. And the key was never outside of you, it was waiting, inside your own skull, in the silent chamber, behind the eyes, between the worlds. They called it the sacred fluid, not just a poetic name, but a direct reference to something real, measurable, and incredibly rare. A secretion from the pineal gland believed to occur during moments of birth, death, and transcendence. This fluid, known in modern science as DMT, dimethyltryptamine, is a molecule so potent it can collapse your understanding of time in a matter of seconds and open doors to a realm beyond logic. Yet it's produced right here, in the center of your brain, quietly, mysteriously, like a divine whisper waiting to be heard. The ancients didn't need lab results to know its importance. They experienced it, in caves, temples, and silence. Through chants, breathwork, fasting, and solar communion. In every ancient tradition, from Egypt to Tibet, from the Amazon shamans to the Rosicrucians, there are echoes of this molecule. They called it soma, amrita, elixir, ambrosia, the nectar of the gods. Different names for the same gateway, a key. And the 33rd degree didn't just speak of it, it taught how to awaken it. This is where the mystery becomes deeply practical, because the 33rd degree is not a mystical idea floating in theory. It is instruction. It teaches the initiate to turn inward, to sit in silence, to observe the breath as it moves through the temple of the body. It speaks of the alignment of energy points, chakras, meridians, vortices, all designed to culminate in one singular event, the moment the sacred fluid is released. It is not accidental. It is not casual. It is sacred timing. It comes when the spine is clear, the breath is focused, and the heart is centered. And when it happens, it is unmistakable. Those who have experienced it describe a flood of peace so vast, it silences all inner conflict. A cascade of light that begins in the back of the brain and spreads like divine fire through the body. Some cry, some laugh, some see visions, some meet beings of light who call them by names they've never heard, yet somehow remember. All describe the same after effect, a deep, irreversible knowing, a clarity that burns through illusion, a remembrance of what we truly are, not bodies, not identities, but consciousness itself. And once you've touched that field, you can never go back. The sacred fluid, when released, initiates you into what ancient schools called the light body. Not metaphorically, energetically. You begin to feel like you're moving differently, sensing differently. Your intuition becomes razor sharp. Your dreams become prophetic. Your perception of others shifts. You see lies before they are spoken. You feel emotion as vibration. You begin to perceive reality not as a solid, fixed thing, but as a shifting field of energy. You see the grid behind the veil. And in this shift, the idea of self begins to dissolve. This is where the true power of the 33rd degree emerges, not in influence over others, but in mastery over self, over illusion, over reaction. You stop being a puppet of the outer world and start moving from the inner command. This is what the ancients meant when they said, "Know thyself, and you will know the universe." Not just because you understand your emotions, but because you activate the gateway within you that connects you to the field of all-knowing. It is in this state that divine union becomes possible, the alchemical wedding, the merging of the earthly and the spiritual, the union of the masculine sun and the feminine moon energies within your body. And the sacred fluid, the DMT released from the pineal gland, is the holy messenger. It is the anointing oil spoken of in scripture, the chrism, the crystal oil. It moves through the spine like a serpent of light, lighting up every chakra as it ascends. And when it reaches the crown, there is silence, illumination, completion. But here's what they didn't tell you. This release doesn't happen by accident. It is not triggered by thought alone. It is earned through purification of mind, of body, of emotion. The 33rd degree is a calling, not a title, and it requires you to walk the path of the builder, to turn your body into a temple, to align your spine as the pillar, to raise your frequency until the body itself becomes a tuning fork for the divine. This is why Jesus died at 33, not just because of historical record, but because of spiritual archetype. His life was a symbol, his age was a message. The 33rd vertebra is the gate. The skull, the place of the crucifixion, is called Golgotha, the place of the skull, and it is within your skull that the final transformation takes place. When the fluid rises to the pineal, when the Christ oil is crucified within, you awaken, you resurrect, you are reborn, not as personality, but as pure being. This is not allegory, it is anatomy, spirituality woven into flesh, and it is the great secret hidden in plain sight, embodied in architecture, encrypted in symbols, sung in chants, whispered in temples. From the staircase of 33 steps in Masonic lodges to the 33-petaled lotus in ancient mandalas, this number is everywhere. Because it is not a number, it is a key, and you hold it. Numbers are not just for counting, they're for unlocking. Hidden beneath the surface of every ancient system, Kabbalah, Freemasonry, Pythagorean geometry, Hermetic alchemy, lies a language made of numbers, and at the center of that language is 33. This number is not arbitrary. It appears at the crossroads of sacred geometry, human anatomy, biblical symbolism, and universal law. Why? Because it represents the final threshold before illumination, the bridge between matter and spirit, the final rung on Jacob's ladder. Let's begin with the spine, your internal stairway to heaven. The human spine contains exactly 33 vertebrae from base to crown, and in every mystery school, the spine is symbolized as a ladder, a tree, or a serpent. It is the channel through which energy must rise. In Eastern systems, this is the Kundalini, coiled at the base, waiting to awaken. In Masonic symbolism, it is the stairway of the initiate. In the biblical narrative, it is the rod of Moses. In Egyptian glyphs, it is the staff of Thoth, and in every case, it is pointing upward, to the crown, to the pineal, to the throne of God within the skull. This is not poetic language. This is a system, a design, a map. And the number 33 marks the final step in that ascension. It is the level where the initiate ceases to be a student and becomes a vessel, where the knowledge becomes experience, where the theory becomes vision. That's why, in sacred geometry, the number 33 corresponds with the tetrahedron, the most stable three-dimensional shape in existence, composed of 4 faces, representing the 4 elements: earth, air, fire, water. When balanced, these elements form the foundation of creation itself. In numerology, 33 is considered the master teacher, the rarest of all master numbers. It is not the teacher who speaks from knowledge. It is the one who teaches from presence, from inner radiance, from light. You begin to see that the number is not outside you, it is within you. Your birth, your spine, your DNA. Your very perception of time is based on the rotation of a 360-degree circle, where 3 plus 3 equals 6, the number of man, the number of balance, the number of the Sacred Heart. And still, 33 is more. It is not just a symbol, it is a frequency. When it begins to appear in your life, on clocks, license plates, receipts, it's not random. It's a wake-up call, a cosmic whisper reminding you of the hidden structure within your journey, a signal that the door is near. Have you ever noticed how synchronicities increase as you awaken? You think of something, and it appears. You feel something, and the world reflects it back. This is not coincidence, it is coherence. And the number 33 is often the initiator of that coherence. When you start to see it, especially repeatedly, it marks a moment of alignment, a passage between the unconscious and the conscious. The outer world begins to mirror the inner frequency. You begin to receive not just signs, but guidance. In Freemasonry, the 33rd degree is not openly taught. It is conferred. It is not given to the loud or the ambitious. It is revealed to those who have walked the spiral staircase of self-realization. And the rite of passage is always inward. Meditation, breath, fasting, service, silence. These are the real tools, not robes or lodges. The 33rd degree is not a destination, it is a frequency. And once you rise to meet it, you don't just perceive the world differently, the world begins to respond differently to you. This is the part of the mystery most people miss. The number itself can be used as a conscious tool. You can meditate on it, visualize it, use it to focus your breath. Inhale for 3 counts, exhale for 3, 11 cycles, repeated 3 times. You can inscribe it in your journal, in your prayers, on your walls, not as superstition, but as synchronization. Because each time you align with that vibration, you are reminding your system, your brain, your nervous system, your soul, that you are walking the path of return, the path of illumination. It's no coincidence that in Christian tradition, Christ ascended at 33, nor that Dante's Divine Comedy is structured into 33 cantos per realm, nor that Mount Hermon, where the fallen angels descended in the Book of Enoch, lies at 33.33 degrees north latitude. These aren't just parallels, they are fingerprints, clues, markers left by those who knew, passed through, and encoded the path for others to follow. Because here is the deeper truth. The 33rd degree is not just about activating the pineal gland, it is about becoming a living temple, a harmonic expression of cosmic intelligence. The Masons call it building the temple not made with hands. The yogis call it samadhi. The Gnostics call it gnosis. The alchemists called it the magnum opus. And every tradition, every path, every initiate, once they reach this threshold, describes the same sensation: stillness, light, unity, truth without words, love without condition, being without boundary. You become a mirror of the divine, and the number 33 becomes your silent mantra, your internal compass, your encrypted signal from the cosmos that you are walking the highest path, even when you walk it alone. This is where the mystery completes its circle. You've walked the spiral, you've ascended the spine, you've meditated on the number, awakened the gland, and allowed the sacred fluid to flow. But there is one final step, one moment where the initiate ceases to be a seeker and becomes the embodiment of the truth. Freemasonry calls this the inner resurrection, not metaphorical, not mythological, but a shift so radical, so intimate, that it rewrites the very operating system of your perception. The resurrection is not what happens after death. It's what happens when you realize you were never the one dying in the first place. In the secret teachings of the 33rd degree, This resurrection is known as the marriage of light and matter. The spirit descends fully into the body, and the body rises in frequency to meet it. You become transparent to yourself. No more masks, no more performance, no more distortion between who you are and how you appear. The inner and outer begin to merge. Your words match your vibration. Your thoughts bend reality. Your presence becomes medicine. And the world begins to shift around you. This is not about ego inflation. In fact, the ego is what dies in this resurrection. The separate self, the one who clings to identity and fear, that version dissolves, and what's left is consciousness, pure, radiant, calm awareness. You see the dream of the world for what it is, a field of stories, symbols, and agreements. And suddenly, you're no longer bound by them. You're free to shape them, move through them, or step completely beyond them. This is what the sages meant when they spoke of walking between worlds. Not fantasy, but fluidity. The ability to stay anchored in presence while navigating illusion. The 33rd degree initiate becomes a bridge between heaven and earth, above and below, energy and form. That's why in Masonic iconography, you'll often see the compass and square encircling the all-seeing eye. The square symbolizes matter, the compass, spirit, the eye in the center, awareness, the unblinking witness of the soul. And once you activate this trinity within yourself, you stop seeking permission to be divine. You simply are. But this is where it becomes dangerous, at least to the systems that profit from your blindness. Because a sovereign human, awake, centered, and spiritually aligned, is ungovernable. You no longer need constant stimulation, authority figures, or external meaning. You begin to trust your own knowing. You become quiet, attentive, deep. And in that stillness, you begin to transmit. Others feel it, not as charisma, but as coherence. You radiate something the world has forgotten, a frequency, a signal, a reminder. That's why the final phase of the 33rd degree is always inward. It's a secret so well kept that even many who wear the title never receive it. Because the real final ritual is silence. The initiate sits alone. No audience, no applause, just breathe, light, and memory returning. The memory of being more than flesh, more than time, more than fear. And in that moment, the gate opens. And what lies beyond is not a vision or a reward. It's the truth. That this world is not what we were told. That matter is not solid. That death is not the end. That thought is not bound by distance. That light is the blueprint of everything. That you are not waiting to become something. You are here to remember what you already are. The teachings say that when the sacred fluid rises and lights up the pineal gland, you gain access to the land of infinite possibility. And it's not a place, it's a frequency, a field, a bandwidth of creation where you begin to shape reality as the artist shapes clay. This is not egoic control, it is divine co-creation. Your desires become intentions, your words become codes, your silence becomes strategy, and your energy becomes your signature. You are no longer reacting to life, you are composing it. And it all began with the number 33. So let's return to the image we began with, a door, locked, hidden in the center of the mind, guarded not by force, but by forgetfulness. And now you hold the key, not because someone gave it to you, but because you finally remembered where it was hidden, inside your breath, inside your spine, inside your stillness. You turn it, the lock clicks, and the door opens. What's on the other side is not a fantasy, it's a deeper reality, a layer of being that's been here the entire time. The mystics called it the inner kingdom, the light body, the divine octave. The Masons called it the great work. The final step, the moment when the initiate becomes the temple and the light begins to live within them. This is your birthright. Not something earned through suffering, but something remembered through alignment. You were never meant to stay asleep. You were never meant to stay small. You were always the secret. You were always the door. You were always the key. And now, everything changes. There is something sacred about crossing a threshold with your eyes wide open, not in fear, but in reverence. Because once the truth enters you, not as information, but as vibration, you can never unknow it. This is the silent legacy of the 33rd degree. It was never meant to be televised, commercialized, or mass-produced. It was always meant to be embodied, quietly, powerfully, invisibly, like the seed that holds the memory of the tree, even before it breaks the soil. You may feel something stirring inside you right now, a subtle warmth in the center of the forehead, a pulse in your spine, a resonance in your heart. That's not imagination, that's memory. Something ancient, recognizing itself in you again. It's not a fantasy, it's a return. And it doesn't require robes or rituals. It requires presence, integrity, alignment. It requires silence so deep that you can hear the voice of your own soul. You came here to remember that the temple was always your body, that the ritual was always your breath, that the altar was always your heart, and that the God you were taught to seek outside has always lived within your own crown of light. You're not here to conform, you're here to rise. You're not here to fit in, you're here to transmit. You're not here to repeat, you're here to remember. And no matter what they've told you, no matter how long you've been asleep, there is nothing broken about you. The very fact that you found this message means the frequency is already awakening in you. So walk the path now. Breathe into your spine, speak the number with intention, let the sacred fluid rise, let the false self fall away, and let the divine blueprint activate from within. You are not becoming, you are revealing. And from this day forward, you will never look at the world the same way again, because now you carry the 33rd key, and that changes everything. If you're finding value in these revelations, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to stay connected to the deeper truth. Let me know in the comments if this perspective shifted something in you, and type, "I'm ready" if you feel the veil thinning and your hidden energy awakening. Thank you for walking this path of ancient remembrance with me. Until next time, stay curious and stay aligned. And if you haven't yet, join the Mystery School today.